Hi guys, it's Matt here from MCS-books, and today I am here for a Femmeuary recommendations video. Now for this video I'm going to discuss books by female writers or about female characters. And in the style of, if you liked this book you will like this one, I'm going to take 3 popular books and then recommend you 3 plays which I think you might enjoy. So this year I'm very enthusiastic about reading more plays and I've been enjoying it. Like, I haven't read plays since my undergraduate, which kind of ruined plays a little bit for me because I was forced to study lots of old British or French plays which I didn't have as much interest in at the time. So now I'm kind of liberating myself from my fear of reading the play and taking back my love for it. So like I said, I'm going to take 3 books, and if you liked these books then I really think you will like the plays that I suggest. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Now I know that this book has been quite popular in the bookish world and lots of people enjoyed it. I had some issues with it. It wasn't a bad book, but I don't think it was worth all the hype it was given. However, if you did enjoy it, I have got a play for you. So The Secret History is about an elite university in which a student comes into it from a different social and economic background. He gets into it and he becomes obsessed with this group of people who study with a specific professor who is meant to be very inspiring, and it's very much about an elite group of people. And it's a very slow-moving, very luxurious book in which it examines these characters and examines their patterns for like the Greek history and this notion of hedonism and pure enjoyment and scholarly love almost. Then it explores how this kind of affects them and motivates them to do suspicious activity, and then ultimately it examines the way that some of their actions later haunt them in life. So it sounds like a really great novel, and actually the plot line of this book is really interesting and really enjoyable. There was just some parts of the writing that I couldn't get on board with. So now let me recommend you a play if you liked that book. The play I'm going to talk about is Posh by Laura Wade. Now, this book was made into a film called The Riot Club, but the play is definitely better. The play focuses on a group of Oxbridge students, and it's inspired by the Bullingdon Club, which many British people might know about. So it follows a group of young men, all from very wealthy backgrounds, as they enjoy a meal out in a pub. Throughout the evening, their discussion becomes more darker, more twisted. Their interactions with some female characters are very questionable, and it ultimately ends in an event which then haunts some of the characters, very much in the style of The Secret History. What I like about Posh is that whilst it is not explicitly feminist in its speech and in its delivery, the themes and the undercurrent tones of it are very much trying to open your eyes to how much power being a man, being a rich man, and being a white rich man truly has, and the way that that affects their perception of society and their position in it. It tackles the themes of male entitlement, it tackles the themes of the posh versus the poor, and how these sort of worlds can collide, and how the group of boys, through their social upbringing, learn how to navigate and ultimately manipulate and control the world. It is a very dark piece, it's a very powerful piece, and it is thrilling throughout. It is so enjoyable to read and to watch. And I was very lucky in my undergraduate to actually have a lecture with Laura Wade and hear her discussion on writing and writing Posh specifically, and her role of being a female writer in a otherwise masculine driven world. So it was very interesting. I really liked Laura Wade. She's a great writer, a great playwright, and this play is definitely worth a read. Now the second book I want to talk about is The Power by Naomi Alderman. This book, of course, was the winner of the Bailey's Prize for Women. It is a very good book and I really enjoyed this book. The book itself is about a global phenomenon in which women suddenly get the ability to control electric shocks, in which they can then exert on other people in myriad ways. And it's sort of about how this power then allows the women to change the gender imbalance and then to grab hold of the power of the world. It's a very explicitly feminist text, but not in the way that you might think. It takes the notion of power itself and degenders power. It ultimately says that no matter who has the power, the same corruption could be available to all. So it kind of takes down that boundary between gender and power and looks at just power itself and the way that it affects how we perceive other people and how we aim to gain power in such a capitalist world. But then it explores these topics further as it takes it into the context of an historical text and then kind of examines how the writer of the power, which is a text within the text itself, kind of then is struggling to get this work published. And once you read it, you'll kind of understand why, and it's really eye-opening and such a satisfying ending. So if you did enjoy this book, I think a play that you will enjoy is Top Girls by Caryl Churchill. Now this is a play from the 1980s, and Churchill is a renowned playwright, especially in the UK. This play is not particularly linear in its style and delivery. It explores its topic through sort of daydreams and reality and kind of jumps between times. But the ultimate plot line of this story is an examination of women in a company called Top Girls, and they are aiming to be the best of their industry. It then deconstructs this idea as a look to how women navigate in powerful positions, but not as a woman. They navigate through these worlds by declaiming their femininity and taking on the role of the masculine. And then it kind of explores feminism through this concept as to whether it should be a case of the woman assimilating to the man, or should it be about understanding females and supporting females and working together in collaboration and trying to defy this role of the masculine. So it really is an intriguing topic, and the play opens up with a scene of historic female figures sat around a table enjoying a dinner in which they luxuriate in how successful their lives have been since being in a position of masculinity. So it's kind of very much thought-provoking piece into actually engaging and understanding the role of women and power, and how the positions that we give these power to will always be masculine, even if they're taken by a woman. And it's really fascinating to examine feminism in a way that opens up doors for women to defy the role that men prescribe upon them. Okay, now the final book that I want to talk about is not so much a book, it's about a story that has been, of course, adapted into myriad formats, and that is the story of Cinderella. Now, do I need to explore the story of Cinderella for you? I'm sure you all know it, and there have been so many adaptations of it. I'm thinking for this example, perhaps using Marissa Meyer's Cinder. So if you enjoyed Cinder, or if you enjoyed any retelling really of Cinderella, then this play could be one for you. This play is called The Ash Girl by Timberlake Wertenbaker. Now, this is, of course, a retelling of Cinderella. But this is no fairy tale retelling. This is a dark, mysterious, and really interesting retelling. So it follows Cinderella in her usual position, of course, sleeping within the ashes. You can't quite tell the difference between Cinderella and her surroundings to represent how much she has just been ground down to dust, ultimately. And within this world, there is a forest in which all the characters go in and come out of, and a lot of the story takes place within that forest. So within this forest, we have the 7 deadly sins, which are then represented through these 7 different monsters. And all these monsters then have a power over each and every character. So it shows how the characters are not only driven by their personal desires, but it's how they're corrupted by these sins and in the way that that manipulates them. Now, some of the sins, at first, you may not actually know in which way they're manipulating and who they're manipulating. Some of them don't become clear until the end, and that really has a very powerful and interesting take on the whole play. Ash Girl herself isn't perhaps manipulated by any of these sins, But she does have a ghost that's haunting her, and that ghost is sadness. And sadness, of course, is a representation of mental health and depression, and the way that it's debilitating Cinder, and the way that she must try to go against it. For it's not just her stepmother and stepsisters that she's fighting against. It is society at large, it is her depression, it is herself, and it is the ghost of her father. So the play itself tackles lots and lots of different themes. We've also got the prince, who is ultimately an immigrant, and there are race relations that are working within it. And the scope of the play really is so interesting and so absorbing that you're kind of lost within the world as you read it. And once it ends, and once you really understand who all the characters are and how they have been affected by outside forces, you get an appreciation for just how much society and the world that we live in pressures and manipulates us to be specific characters within the story of capitalist patriarchy. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this play. And it's a very accessible play too. It is a play that I think is suitable for young adults just as much as it is for adults. So yes, they are my 3 if you liked these books, then you will like this play recommendations for Femmeuary. I hope that some of them have taken your fancy and you might look into having a read. But let me know if you have read any of the books or if you have read any of the plays. What did you think of them? And I'm also intrigued as to how many of you read and enjoy plays, or do you prefer to just go and watch them? So let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and you can always subscribe if you're not already. And I'll see you next time for another video. Bye bye!